Hi, Jenna.
Thanks so much, everyone, for coming out tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jenna Christensen, and I'm the founder of Women at Work. And I've been thinking a lot lately about why this was important to me to create a community of women to really support one another in our creative endeavors. And I hope that's what we're doing here. I know my goal is to come and share my experiences, my challenges, the things that have worked for me, and hope that you all do that for one another. Come to this space and feel safe and able to share your successes and challenges so we can all rise together. So I want to start off by thanking Shari for hosting us tonight and this beautiful showroom. And I don't know if you want to say a couple words about Decorative Carpets by Stark.
Sure.
Yes.
They have a great legacy. They have one of the greatest stories, I think, in the decorative arts.
Rocky's just going to speak.
No, I'm just setting you up. I think it deserves the honor that you're going to give it.
Come on up.
I'm doing a slow walk. Just, went the long way. I did go the long way. Well, thank you for letting us host you tonight. It's very special for me, specifically because Rocky, and I said this to you earlier, is a mentor for me. I think he is for a lot of people. And it's because of Rocky that I am in this industry, really, and have stayed in this industry for the length of time that I've been in it. So, thankfully, and I'm going to just speak to George for a second, I had the opportunity to meet George. I've known of him and knew of Decorative Carpets in my tenure. Because of the legacy of the business. It was a 60-year-old company, 65-year-old company, give or take, and very well known in the industry. And when I was looking for an opportunity, I had the chance to get to know him more closely. So 3 years ago, I joined the Decorative family. And a year ago, George decided it was time to branch out and to change his path. So he decided to sell Decorative Carpets to Stark. Stark Carpet, of course, is a 75-year-old brand, very established on the West Coast, and has been here in Los Angeles for many, many years. And so it was a really beautiful partnership and a marriage, really, of two legacy companies. So I'm thrilled to be a part of the Stark family with our Decorative family, and I don't know if George wants to say anything. I'll just keep going.
George had his day.
George had his day
in the sun.
But really, speaking to you, Jenna, I've followed your career over the last several years, being that I was now in rugs. And followed your success and all the wonderful things that you've done in your career in the last couple of years, specifically here in Los Angeles, and I'd always admired it. And I kind of accosted her at LCDQ this past May, and was so happy
I
to
wish
meet
people
you.
accosted me more.
And I just said, I love I'm following you. Really, I follow her. I had, known what you were doing, and really so thrilled that you're doing.
She's making a difference. Gina is making a difference, and she's on the vanguard of what we all want to be doing.
Yeah. You are my mentor. I think you know that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll tell you a really quick story. We were at AHD, the hospitality design show in Vegas, and it was 2004. And I was looking for something, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew I wanted to be I wasn't happy, and I knew that I needed to find happiness. And Rocky and I just sort of met. We just, our eyes met. And I said, I'm looking for something different. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I just said, I want to be happy. And it was, that close Rocky talk. I was practically making out with him. And he said, I've got the thing for you. And he just knew. So thank you.
Thank you, Joey.
And thank you for being here with us tonight. And thank you all for being here. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you haven't been here before, thank you for being here. We'd love to see you again. And I personally, now that we have decided we are sponsoring.
Yes.
Oh, yay.
It's
Yay,
official.
yay.
It's official.
Wow.
So
Good.
we will be we will see each other again regularly. So
Thank you. So tonight, as you all know, we're talking about the importance of knowing yourself and how that relates to success. And I think this is something that's so important, and it's been a life sort of journey for me. And I didn't really even realize until I was really thinking about it before I came here. It really is the pinpoint of all of the work I do with my clients. I mean, I call it something else when I have meetings with clients. It's finding their differentiating point. But when you have a meaningful differentiating point in a marketplace, it's typically because you're showing the world who you are through your work. So I just find this, and those are the brands and the people that I'm most attracted to. The people that are willing to do that, and I think they really do stand out, in the crowd. So I now want to say a huge thank you to Rocky for being here with us tonight and for being willing to have this conversation and for sparking the idea over just one of those close talk conversations at Neither when we hosted our last event in your beautiful showroom.
Well, I think of the time that you and I first met. It's because I think one of the assets in the creative industries, if we're all involved in creative industries, is what are our assets? Who are we as a people? Who are the culture? And I think a lot of it is intuition. And I think we've forgotten a lot about that, about intuition, that it's really the driving force. It's really the baseline of everything. It's about feeling. It's about this. And one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten along in business after so many years in the business, I feel like I just started yesterday. I feel like I just arrived and I'm figuring it out. But I met Jenna, and I knew there was something. I didn't know what it was, but I was drawn to it. And so the angel said, hey, kid, this is the deal. And so we did.
Yeah.
We talked and we become...
And by the way, it was the same thing for me. I remember sitting there and going, what is your secret? Because there is something here that I don't see in most people.
And then I also saw in her things that I don't see in most people. I think sometimes we see in other people what we don't have. I know what I have. I think I've learned as I've gotten older what I have, what my assets are. But I'm constantly searching and looking for other things to feed me, to nourish me, to complete me, to make me what I'm supposed to be. Because I think when you get to be a certain age, you want to be what you're supposed to be. And you're trying to set that out. And sometimes it's just get out of the fucking way. Just listen and be true and move around, but go slow. LA can be a very, very chaotic place. There's so much cacophony, so many distractions, so much going on all the time, that I think to find your soul here takes a little work. But I think it's worth the work to do whatever processes you find to do that. But I find that one of the things that I've learned that's been my compass throughout 40 years and all my life is that the people I know, the friends, that they become your compass, they become your rudder, they become, So I guest lecture at UCLA Extension and recorded with the beginning students. And I say, I don't know anything about design. I say, I'm not a designer, your career is very safe with me, but I'm going to talk to you tonight at UCLA Extension what I know about creativity, the design world. Not that you're ever going to learn that at UCLA Extension, because they're going to teach you about stuff. I'm going to teach you about life. I want to share with you what I know. Because everything I know, I learned from somebody else. Everything I know I learned from somebody else. This is why I was attracted to this business so many years ago, because it's one of the last medieval businesses, because it's about craft. It's about slowdown. You can't make this, you can't make it big. Look at decorative carpets. They don't have a big mill. They don't have this. They're little dealers, they're agents, they're creators. This small stuff. This is spiritual, like the work that you've done. It's just small things. We're attracted to these small things, but listening, attracting, surrounding yourself with good friends. I tell the students at UCLA, surround yourself with good friends, especially in LA, because LA is wild. It's like the Wild West. Everything's going on. Everything's crazy. There's so much going on. How do you find it out? Well, surround yourself with like-minded people that tell you where to go, what galleries to see, what's happening, that sort of thing.
I love what you just said about intuition, because I don't think people talk about it enough. And I know from myself that everything that I've done that I'm proud of has been from total gut. I had no idea how I was going to do what I was going to do. I just had a vision.
Take the leap.
Yeah, I had a vision, and I
Take the leap.
just had to keep going forward until that vision became a reality. So here's my question to you.
Uh-oh.
And maybe you answered it a little bit already, but like, how do we get more in touch with our intuition? What are some of the practices that you've used over the years to kind of quiet all those other voices?
Quiet.
Yeah.
Quiet. I was talking to Gina DeWitt, my soulmate at Needler for Share, that I worked with for so many years, that I created. The universe created us. Okay, and she said, Rocky, you have the ability to just do nothing. Last Sunday, I stayed in my beautiful Brooks Brothers nightshirt all day long. I didn't leave my apartment. I gardened a little. I made some chicken soup. I read. I didn't turn on TV, but I read. And I listened to classical music. I was listening to Rachmaninoff and all the things I love, and totally drifting away. And it's counterintuitive to what I was brought up as a Catholic farm boy, where you have to be producing. You have to work, keep working. And I've learned that the genius of who I am comes from a place that's counterintuitive. It's a place of nothingness, which is really soulfulness of doing nothing. So it's a technique that I use constantly. Or I go up to Cayucas, a little beach house that you know where I love going up, and just doing nothing. You know Cayucas.
Yeah, I saw you there.
Saw you there one time. Yes, exactly. But I go to places where there's nothing. But on the other hand, I love the kids. I love theater. I love opera. I love this. I'm out almost every night in town. Every night, every lunch, every minute of my day, I compact my life is in 15-minute increments. I'm fully booked because I believe, like George, George in the old Hollywood actor. He said, I can't die, I'm booked. So I feel if I say booked, I'm okay. I keep moving. But to have intuition, you have to respect that part of your soul, that's a part of your creative. And what I tell the students at UCLA, that I'm telling you, is that we are creative reservoirs. I think most of us here that are in creative industries, businesses, it's not an industry. I always tell the students, it's not a business. It's not a profession. It's a calling. Okay. What all of us have, I think, if you really observe it, is a calling, intuition. But these are things that we don't learn, we're not taught. I don't know how I learned it. From mentors, maybe it's just a natural, maybe I'm just a channeling. But intuition is where some of the greatest discoveries come and the greatest businesses come. And the creativity that people do it with clients, or you create product, or you're in business, you're in sales. But I find that it's being quiet, or whether it be go to the ocean, or go for a walk, or this. The other thing that I do almost every weekend is go to a museum. LA has so many museums, I can never see them all. I tell the students, I go to museums. I go to a museum and I lose my soul. I go in, and sometimes I just sit and look at one piece of art. and it draws me in because I want to be drawn in. I want to experience what's in my heart, what's in my soul. I want to explore those reaches and recesses that, frankly, it's not about business, although it's good for business. It's pleasurable. Aren't we the luckiest people? Aren't we the luckiest people to be able to have those things that we see things, that we can observe things and look at things and feel them and bring them in? I mean, I feel always so lucky, so grateful, but I think the other part of it is, and I'll let you go on, is sharing that. That's my greatest joy. She asked me in this little thing, a questionnaire, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Well, I get up in the morning because I want to do it again. I want to see where it's going. I want to see where it's going to take me. I want to see what I'm going to learn. I want to see something. I'm so innately curious. And goddamn son of a bitch, LA is the most creative city in the frigging universe. Rome wasn't so fun. New York has never been as exciting as this creative vortex that Los Angeles. I tell the kids at UCLA, I said, Jesus, I just wish I could live another 50 years. See what you kids are going to do with this. Because never has there been a city like this ever. People are pouring in because there's no so little confinement. So reflective. So get on for the ride. So how do I get up in the morning? I think I have to sleep because that makes me good. But I wish I didn't have to. I wish I didn't have to. I think sleep is kind of although I must tell you, I always tell Gina this, when I'm sleeping, I'm still thinking. All night long. I'm processing stuff, Anyway, do you all do that?
Yes.
Do you? See, we're all.
That's what sleep
we're all.
is for.
Pardon?
I feel like that's what sleep is for. To help
Is that?
you process your thoughts.
The brain doesn't ever shut off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think creative people do that. I mean, maybe everybody does it, but do you do it?
When I can't sleep, I try to, I've gone back and forth with different practices at night, like maybe asking myself a question before I go to bed, that I'm looking for an answer to. But I've been working on shutting my brain down before I go to bed.
Really?
Yeah. Or else I don't sleep. And I
Okay.
feel like, and I want to go back to what you were saying earlier, the counterintuitive thing about doing nothing, because that's something that I've struggled with, giving myself permission to do as well. And, understanding that you need the time and space also to be creative. I'm reading this book right now by Julia Cameron, and she talks about, it's really a book on writing, but to me it's like a book about life. And she talks about, you could take the pressure off of yourself by, instead of feeling like I gotta sit down and write, I gotta come up with a story, I gotta come up with something to say. No, it's about listening and dictation and waiting for the answers to come. And I literally feel like what I do when I put myself in the right space, when I create that space in my head, the quiet time, like that's when the ideas come. And I have no idea where they come from.
What's counterintuitive? We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know where they come from. I wish we knew how creative people came, I tell this, one of the stories I use at UCLA is about the cave dwellers in ancient times, tens of thousands of years ago. At the end of the meal at night, somebody would take a stick from the fire and draw a saber-toothed tiger, a woolly mammoth, whatever, some sort of rhinoceros or something. And I said, who did that? Not everybody. Not everybody in the village, in the cave, took it and did a drawing. The creative people did it. Who the hell were they? I said, who did that? Who were they? What drove them to do that, take the stick and to take something that was in their soul and express it out mechanically or in physical ways? It's like poets. As I said, we don't know who they were. And this is why you're here tonight. You're the same thing. We're creative people, but we don't know where it came from. We just are. And I said, my God, I'm in awe. I'm in honor to be there and to be with people in a tribe and be it fashion or be it whatever creative poets, where that comes from, who we are. But my hope for you is to honor that. I think what we have to do sometimes as creators, as soulful people, we doubt ourselves. Oh my God, who are we? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Do you? Do you doubt yourself, darling? Yes.
It's to you. No, I just went oof because yeah, I mean that strikes a chord for sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, we all do.
Yeah.
But you see, but what I hope to do is this, in whatever time I have with people that I care about and that I get to work on, is honor that. Honor the creation, go to theater, go to museum, and to realize the commonality that we have, and that it's we don't know what it is. You don't have to know what things are.
No.
You see, I think sometimes we're trained that we have to have reason, we have to have answers, we have to know things. We friggin' don't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you?
Oh, just that you just have to be. You can't overthink anything. You just allow it to come and give you that.
Oh, I wish I learned that. my guru said that to me. I see a metaphysician every Saturday for 15 years. And I said, I wish I didn't think about it. He said, Rocky, stop thinking. Just stop enjoying. Just sit, just let it come. But it's that duality that creates that diametric.
So you said a couple of things that I want to come back to. One, when you were talking about creativity, and like for me, and I think it's a blessing and a curse, like I look at my work as an opportunity to paint a self-portrait, you know, and I really do think though that that is the key to success, which I think, again, knowing yourself, being able to paint that self-portrait and communicate that in some way, whether you're a salesperson and it's the way, like, you don't just sell, you sell in your way. You're Rocky, this is my way, and nobody can do it like you, but you have to allow yourself to be yourself. Even, you know, when you're a brand like, you know, decorative carpets, like, you know, everybody has the ability, you know, who's in the rug business to make these kind of rugs. So how do you show who you are by producing, you know, certain types of product?
Well, one of the words that I wrote down with Gina today is entrepreneurship. Okay, and I'd like us to think about that word, being entrepreneurs. Because I think entrepreneurship, what you're talking about, creating your life,
Yeah.
creating your brand, creating who you are. And one of the things that I've learned, because my background came from merchandising and marketing, and not so much in design. Design was just happened that I discovered that I found people that I could relate to and that I could work within, and to take the skills that I have and maneuver those in creative people. But it's being an entrepreneur. It's like being an artist. We're all entrepreneurs. Or I think we can be. I think we should be. I think we should understand that even I worked for Needler for 15 years, but I'm an entrepreneur. I've created my job. I've created the dimensions of it, and I think you do that, Natalie. Natalie and I work together at Needler, and I watch her. She's an extraordinary colleague, and I'm enjoying I love watching her grow and finding her way. Or you're an entrepreneur. I mean, you're a brave warrior entrepreneur. I've never been brave to start on my own, to be on my own. I could never. It wasn't in my, like you know, you.
Well, but no, because of my husband too. He's a designer that was working. He was the GM of Rose Tarla for 18 years, and then he had to leave because it was time for him to become an entrepreneur and start his own business. And it's the scariest thing ever.
It was scary for
Waking
him.
up
I remember
every
him.
day and, like,
He went.
going-
He was like, I was astonished. I wasn't astonished. I was delighted
Yeah.
that he could do it, because sometimes the guru that I have, Jeff Rose, he writes a book, and the book is When You Get to the End of Your Rope,
Yeah.
Let Go. Yeah, it's a counterintuitive thing. Is that sometimes it's that, because creative people sometimes set those things up that we can't do it, but then when we do, we realize, well, of course we can, but it's that. So defining your life, creating that entrepreneurship in whatever role, like we all do. How do you become an entrepreneur?
You're talking to me?
Uh-huh.
I think I don't look at it from that sort of standpoint. I mean, from the time I was super little, I mean, I remember always really wanting to own my own thing, whether that was my own thing on my own or with somebody else. But for me, it's coming from a different place of the why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then letting it translate from there. And how that's communicated, because to me there's a purpose behind what we do and what that means, and how that develops into relationships with the people that we get to work with, in whatever it is that we're doing. So yes, that builds an entrepreneurial base foundation, I suppose, but I don't ever come at it from that specific.
Because I say sometimes what I say to the students at UCLA is you are the enterprise. You are the asset. We, each of us, are the asset. And I think sometimes I've given that away a lot to Needler and Cecile Browder and S. Harris through my 40 years of business. I think sometimes, why did I do that? Why did I give my asset away to the company? Well, because it was safe, it was secure or something, and then I could operate within those confines. It protected me, it gave me benefits, that sort of stuff. But I thought, wow, how could I be like Jenna and just jump and do it herself and pay her own bills? But it was
The why, the purpose.
the why, the purpose. Yeah, the why, the purpose. Then I think it's also listening to your own soul.
Sure.
You know, and what I tell the students at UCLA is that life is very simple. There are three things in life. Number one, figure out who you are. Number two, what you're supposed to do. And number three, then do it. But each of them requires a great deal of thought. But if you dig into yourself, who are you? Where are you from? Who are your people? What are your experiences? What do you like? What's really good? In not what you're supposed to like, but deep down in the soul, which we're not conditioned to in Los Angeles to figure out who we are. We're supposed to be somebody else, you know, or always live next to some place of greater value. Number two, what are you supposed to do? Supposed to do, wow. What is it? You know? Number three, to do it, but I think it's a process that
Right.
never ends.
So I have a question, because, you know, I certainly have had times in my own life where I have been lost and not felt like I don't know who I am. I actually
Really?
have a collage that I made, actually, that says sometimes I don't know who I am.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
How did that come about?
I think I wasn't happy in the work. I didn't feel like my work had purpose. And like I really need to feel like I'm
Making a difference?
making a difference.
Yeah. See,
I really need
this
to
is
feel
what
like
the
I'm making a
millennials
difference.
teach me. Is the kids today in this business have that. They want to make a difference. They want to be good. Hang around with millennials that are really smart. You'll learn a lot.
Yeah. So I think I wasn't feeling like I was fulfilling my purpose, or that or that what I was doing was making a difference in a meaningful way. So,
How'd you get out of it?
God, I followed my instincts. I journaled a lot. I looked for mentors in the forms of books. I read books like
What?
The Icarus Deception by Seth Godin, and All Marketers Tell Stories, and Now Discover Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham. I read Start With Why by Simon Sinek, and you know.
Well, all that reading, how are you getting anything done?
She doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
We established
that.
But like they all planted a seed inside of me that was giving me the answer of where to go next, you know, and giving me a hint. So as a result of reading those books, I took different steps. I went in a different direction, you know. I used to not think I was creative. I used to be in sales, and it just wasn't a right fit for me, you know. I think selling can be really creative, but it wasn't for me. So I too created a job for myself. I created, you know, a world. I created a job title and just said, I'm creative director.
But
I've
you
never
did.
been one before, but I'm going to come in here and do it.
But what I'm hearing you say is you had a problem. And I think sometimes when you have a problem, it's how do you solve the problem? Well, number one, you have to see you have a problem, then you have to define the problem, and then you have to find an elixir, find something, a device. And what you did is you went into reading and exploration, because the soul is a remarkable thing, because it seeks salvation. A soul doesn't seek demise, it seeks success. Okay, and I think what she was in, I think it's a great example, is that you intuitively, again, knew that your salvation was going to be reading and finding ideas and discovering that you couldn't do it on your own. Oftentimes we run into dilemmas in our lives where we can't do it on our own. It's too hard. Why do it on your own? I mean, if your car breaks down, you take it to a garage. You go to you take it to a book, and so you try to figure out some stuff. But I think you have that instinct, that drive for survival, that drive for happiness. I think when I learned in my metaphysics, when you have a drive for completion, for happiness, and let that drive, and the drive for pleasure, it will take you where you need to go. But you don't know where that is, and it's not always the same thing,
Right.
but it just listen to it.
And it moves.
And it moves. It does move, but you have to have hope.
Right.
And I think some of these, faith, hope, and charity, the old biblical things, faith, hope, and love. But faith, hope is a remarkable thing.
So, one thing I just realized as we're talking about this is, you mentioned the three things. For me, that reading and the journaling and the meditating and making collages and whatever was step 1 and 2. It was, who am I and how do I figure out what I'm supposed to be doing?
So I'm okay.
And I will tell you that I also did step 3. And when the opportunities fell in my lap, I made sure, to go after them. And there was one, which I still thank, I send in notes and cards at least once a year. I had this extraordinary meeting on the street on Robertson Boulevard with the artist Shepard Fairey, and that completely changed my life. But I made something out of it.
That didn't happen by accident.
It didn't. No, I know it didn't happen.
I know,
by
don't I?
Because I ran into him twice on the same street in 2 days.
The angels are doing their work.
Right?
Yeah.
But I could have easily, the second time I saw him, not gone up to him the second time. That's really when, things shifted. And I met his wife, Amanda. And they really, especially his wife, Amanda, really took me under her wing and whispered in my ear, these are the kinds of things you need to be doing. And I really started on a whole nother path because of meeting them.
Ah. Wow, what a great testament.
Yeah.
Sounds like a parable.
Anyway.
I feel like I'm on the Sermon of the Mount. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I always tell Gina. I said, 90% of life is showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Going, setting up, doing interactions, intersections. Move it. Just get, and if you go and move, I always tell the students at UCLA, if you go somewhere, if you show up, something might happen. If you stay at home, I'm guarantee you ain't nothing going to happen. So don't be. I mean, it's that, but I think it's also what I've heard. If I could talk about my friend Jenna, it's an enlightened journey. She respects her soul. This is one of the things when I first met her, I was so attracted to, is that this is a person that respects her soul. She doesn't know what it is exactly. None of us really ever do. But you respect it, so you kind of have that belief in it, and then you invest in it. And what she did the work. She did the reading, she did showing up, and it's this force, this life force to keep moving and moving. And no good work, I find in life, ever goes unrewarded. Good work is always rewarded. Soulful work is always rewarded. It just is. I've seen it my entire life. But it's that investment. And you don't always know the answer. You don't even know why you do it, but you just do it. And the gumption to just keep moving. Like the first time I met you was one of the most enlightened nights of my life. I'll never forget it at the restaurant. And I said, this is a soulmate. because you were, tell them how we met.
Well, let's do the story.
Yeah, yeah. But that's just a story. See, these are all stories, you see, and these are narratives of how we become who we are. So tell us a story.
Okay, so I was trying to ask you a question. So my question was going to be to you, have there been times in your life where you've been lost
Sure,
or
sure,
stuck?
sure.
And how did you
Sure,
did you get yourself?
Well, I'm subject to
out of
depression, I think, just as a human being. I've always been just sort of a classic depression person. And when I start getting depressed, I know I'm getting depressed, and I'm aware of it, and I just say, well, I'll get through it. And you go to it, and sometimes you just go through the process and just keep looking to your way out. But I think what I try to do is to go to museums, go to galleries, travel, get out of my moribund, because depression sometimes, or when I get overwhelmed with something, and I think depression is a funny thing. It can also be chemical, I think. You don't know what the brain kind of does to those things. And I think sometimes creative people, I look at who is that chef that just killed himself? Bourdain. And I studied that, and I read some articles, and I sent them to my guru because I was very fascinated with that process of what desperation this man that looked so creative and so complete, and that I was so enjoyed and related to and connected to, could off himself. And I had to figure that out a little bit, because I think sometimes in myself these things, what is it that you feel sometimes that to the world you're this, and then inside you're something else? So I think those things are always important to address, to understand. I mean, that's why I seek counseling. I see a counselor. I'm pretty healthy, I think, emotionally, but I'm human. So I seek counsel. I think friends are incredibly important. I love to have a best guy friend or a gal friend, and just have dinner and say, hey, I'm having a rough go. What to talk about this and that sort of stuff. But I think the trick is to be aware of it when you're in it, and then to seek remedy, for it. And I think typically it's not I'm clinically depressed, I'm going to be hospitalized, but usually when you're stuck, it's a result of something that's not right. Okay, and if you're and sometimes we deny. We don't like to sometimes really get introspective and say, I'm in a bad relationship. I'm in a company that doesn't work. I'm in a job I don't like. I'm in a financial bind. How did this happen? Well, pull your head out of your ass and figure it out. So, but that was an interesting question you asked in your little questions to me, because it really confronted me, because it's that spot that I become vulnerable and human, and it's interesting. I think sometimes we all present a face to the world that we're complete and happily ever after, but then we go home. We remember the story of J. Robert Prufrock, But it's but I think as I go along in life, Jenna, what I do is I'm aware of it earlier, and try to fill my life with joy, happiness, experiences, and I think it's a lifestyle. And it's not hedonistic. It's also what I find as I've gotten older is to be good, to give back, to do good things for people, philanthropic work. I've devoted a lot more of my energy right now to philanthropy and to raising funds like this Lifetime Achievement Award that I'm getting in September. It's been a lot of work for me, because I'm tapping on a lot of resources around the country, asking for funding, $2,000, $4,000, $6,000 to create a scholarship fund for students design students in LA, and so that becomes a driving force to me. So I think sometimes it's being aware when you have those signals, and then doing something to overcome it. It's a lifestyle, but you know what? That's going to dog me forever, because that's who I am. And you know what? That's who I am. That's who I am, and that's who I am, and I'm okay, and I'm going to get through. And does that make any sense?
Yep.
Is that too honest?
No, you actually made me want to share that. I've had bouts with depression in the past, and a lot of I recently got engaged, which is a very happy thing, but it's also taken me away from LA, you know, and I agree with you when you say there is a vortex of creativity happening here. Like, this is the most exciting city in the world right now, not New York City, and that's where my love lives. And so it's been a challenge, you know, leaving this place that I love to be with the person I love, you know, and missing my friends and missing the community that I've been a part of for 15 years, and just like figuring that out and how does that work and how do I, really it's like starting over, but that could be an adventure as well. Anyway, I want to talk about something you said about philanthropy and being driven to raise funds, and I'm wondering, you know, again, if we look back at those three things you mentioned earlier, what's your purpose? What do you think is your life's purpose?
That's not easy. You know, it's not easy.
Do you want some help?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you see? I think sometimes people see it in.
Because I see it. You are, I think at your core, a teacher. You're,
Yes.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what my
Yeah.
Is that what it's going to be?
That's what I-
Teacher?
And
Yeah.
like you said, a mentor.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I and you seem to get so much joy out
Oh,
of that
thank you.
action,
Yeah.
which to me means that's something that brings you alive, and like you have touched so many people in this room.
When I describe Rocky, I describe him as a connector.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I am an inveterate teacher. I think I'm a closet. Yeah, I'm two things. You know, I'm a closet recluse because I really like being alone. But I love teaching. I love sharing. Maybe that's it. Sharing. What are the words? Maybe I should go back and dissect this a little bit. Is it that I feel I'm so lucky to know so much and have so much and to know so many things and to have the ability to connect and do things and the ability to, I have the wherewithal to be able to give, and I guess that's it. I guess maybe I'm a religious in a sense. Maybe I'm a monk or something. I don't know what, or a nun. You know, I don't know what. But I enjoy sharing. I enjoy people. What is it about people?
I think
I
you're,
guess-
and you also said earlier about what gets you up in the morning. You're very curious. So at the same time, you're a teacher. You're also a student.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I also read voraciously. So I was telling Gina that I read. I'm engaged with everything. I have to know everything. I read everything. I get like 20, 30 magazines a month. I read the Monocle. I read Wallpaper. I read this and that, and the New Yorker, and the you know, and stuff from all over, and the World of Interiors, and the gay stuff, and this stuff, and the lesbian stuff. And I just have to know. And when I travel, I'm always picking up the freebie newspapers and rags and reading them on the train or on the plane.
Post?
Pardon?
New York Post?
Yeah. but I have this insatiable curiosity. But I think that's why I just was telling her that that ASID has a quarterly newsletter, and they called me on Friday and said, "Would you tell us what books have influenced you, the design world, sort of stuff?" And I said, "Oh, good. Could I get back to you in a week?" He said, "No, I need it by the end of tonight." So I gave them the books that I love in my life, and one was Stanley Marcus, Minding the Store and the Quest for the Best, because of my background as in merchandising, and one was Guerrilla Marketing, one of my favorite books about how you market yourself without assets, by just one, like we're doing here, one-on-one, and Ode to Color, and then Jack Larson, who is another mentor, Material Wealth, about textiles and those sort of things. So, but I read if we get a 6.5 on the Richter, I'm going to die by books. Because the books are all going to come crashing down and kill me. And and wherever I travel, I buy the books. There's not a city I go to anywhere in the world that I don't go to the art
That's such a great
museums.
idea.
Pardon? And see and buy
Buy
books.
books, yeah.
Buy books and surround myself with books. And I'm on the board of the library of West Hollywood. It's my dream come true because when I was a little boy growing up in South Dakota, the town of 443 people, I read both of the Reader's Digest condensed books by the time I was in high school. And I would take the Greyhound bus in front of my dad's gas station to go to Sioux City, Iowa, to the Carnegie Library and read books and cookbooks and that sort of stuff. So books have always been my place that taught me and informed me. And that's why when West Hollywood, the city, became a part of helping create West Hollywood, and we did that 35 years ago. But then part of John Heilman's my dream was to build a library. So we did it. You should really go see the library.
Oh,
it's
so
absolutely
beautiful.
incredible. Yeah, and the children's library in the middle of the library is a huge box, plywood box, and the inside is a replica of the Medici library that Michelangelo designed for the Medicis in Florence. And most people don't know that, but we had this passion for the children of West Hollywood to sit and when they had their stories out, because now they have drag queen storytelling, which is really great. But to be able to do that,
That's
so
amazing.
book stories, what? I think when I become unhappy, it's when I deny myself my own pleasures. And I think this is a form. So this is like a therapy session. I like this a great deal. I'm going to pay you each $100. But it's finding curiosity, finding your pleasures, satisfying those pleasures. I'm on the board also with you of ICAA, which is another great thing. If you don't know ICAA, it's an incredible organization. Institute of Classical Architecture that has, but this is what I do. I fill my life up with things and people and stuff and lectures and smart and move that around. Oh, I was telling Gina, when I'm on my deathbed at Cedar Sinai, I'm going to be begging for 15 more minutes.
That's so nice.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So I saw a pretty incredible documentary this weekend that everyone needs to go see. It's the Mr. Rogers, Won't You Be My Neighbor? Talk about someone who knew themselves and really put everything into their work. It
Yes.
was really mind-blowing, the things that he did at a time where it was so groundbreaking. And I wish I remembered more about it when I was a kid, because I know I watched the show, but I really didn't have the memories. But he talked about segregation, he talked about the Vietnam War, he talked about death, but in a way, all that came from love, never combative. And so really his message and I think what he was trying to communicate is that, love is the answer. So my question
Wow.
is to you, how does love fit into all of this? How does it fit into success? How does
It's
it fit
everything.
into knowing
It's
yourself?
everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. My first prayer in the morning when I wake up is love. To be in love, to be in a loving world, and to give love, to accept love, to be love. And I feel that, I love the letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Whenever one of my nieces or nephews get married, I always love to read that passage. Faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. And love never fails. Love never fails. Love has never failed. Love is complete. Well, you're in love.
I am.
I know. How's that changed?
Well, I realize that before meeting him, I didn't really know what love was, and I didn't really know what it meant to really love.
Would you bring me a wine? Thank you, doctor. I'm getting the vapors here. Oh, l'amour, l'amour, toujours l'amour. Thank you so much.
Just for your love.
Thank you.
He loves you for that.
No, but
But yeah, I didn't know what it meant to love another person or to really be loved.
wow, this is really good.
Wait, can you repeat that? Sorry.
I said I didn't really know what it meant to love another person or to really be loved.
You told me
and-
that.
Yeah.
And
And
I've
listen,
been
he
startled ever since because
surprises me.
that's a foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
I don't even have a pet.
Yeah.
I have a fish.
You love
I'm
your
a fish.
I have a fish.
The question for you then
Yeah.
is, and both of you, is do you think you need to be in love or have a partner to feel complete? So it's a big statement.
So that's a really great question because before I met him, you know, let's be honest. Like, of course, I wanted to meet someone. I'm not gonna lie and say but I wasn't looking, you know, and I felt complete enough and satisfied enough and fulfilled enough by my own life, you know, and my career and my friends that I didn't feel like I wanted to be chasing after it, if that makes sense. And I didn't want to settle.
You welcomed it.
Right. And so I felt complete, you know, before I met him, but once I'm like thinking about life without him does not feel complete. Does that make sense?
That's the secret.
Yeah.
Who said that?
So,
You.
me.
How long have you been with your
I've
beau?
been with my husband for 25 years,
Mm.
and it's like, yeah, it's like, you know, some days you're like, ugh, but when you know you can't live without them, or you can't imagine your life without them,
No.
you know it's
I
the right
cannot.
person.
I cannot.
This
and,
is-
and that doesn't mean I don't take him for granted
Oh.
and forget how special our life is together, because I do. But
Because we're all human.
we're all human. But, you know, he really is a special person. I don't know anyone like him.
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love. See, my grandmother used to say to me, her old bony fingers, she'd say, love is a tender trap, Rocky. What kind of a spit is that? Tender trap. But I think also, I don't know, this could go on for another whole, we could spend a whole week and talk about these things. But this is why I think, if I can interject to the prominence of all this, is women at work. When Jenna mentioned this to me, that she was doing this and putting it together, and I presented it to our team at Needler today, I said, I don't really know what this is. It sounds really interesting because feminist, women, sort of stuff. But why are women different than men? Why are we tribal? Why are men together with men? You know, Robert Bly used to do that in the old days when I was coming on, say men with men and drums. You know, drumming. Say how to become a man? But women at work, I think women doing these sort of love you. Pardon?
She's had a bad valet.
Okay.
To her car.
See you soon. But I think that's really interesting because you approached me and you said, I really want to be a part of this organization. And what was your driving of that?
There's a lot, but I love the fact that it's about women empowering women. Me personally, why I'm driven for it is I personally feel lost. Like, I'm happy with what I'm doing right now, but the question that you guys asked, why? Why am I doing what I'm doing? I don't know. And then I think about it all the time, like, what are people's first impressions of me? I don't know. I feel so jumbled. I can't really say, like, what people take away from, like, who I really am. Do they see who I really am? And then I think, who am I?
You really see who
Do
you
I
are.
know who I am? And so it's really kind of, yeah, soul searching in a way. The reason
Well-
why I'm so intrigued. And also just like being in a network of creative women, because I am in sales. I love being in a creative atmosphere, but I don't feel like I'm the creative driving force. And I like the fact that I'm a part of people's creative process, and I'm inspired by it. And so I just like meeting people like all of you, and I'm inspired by you, and just the fact that people are driven to know that familiarity. I don't know how to. I guess.
I think you've
that's-
explained it well.
Okay, good.
No, and I think you did exactly what you broke it open, and I think this is the need right now. It's not about design, it's not about commerce, it's about soul, and I think we did a little event a couple of weeks ago with the ICAA Neos, where Gina and I and the two kids from Forum Studio, and we talked about soulfulness. Well, the group was in awe, and in my 40 years in design in West Hollywood, I've never heard that before. But I think it's time. I think part of it is
time.
Pardon?
That's why we're here tonight.
I,
'cause
and
it is
yes,
time.
it
Right.
is time, and
Yeah.
you did this, but there's nothing more powerful than an idea that's time has come. I think some of us that are in the business for a while, been around, we get a sense about where things are going, and I certainly do after being in this. And this is where it wants to go now. It wants to go in soulfulness ways, because there aren't answers in other mechanical operations, and so you go back to when there's this whole cacophony of things going on. You come back. You try to explain it, I don't know, but it just is. But it comes back. But I listen to it when I talk to the women in Needle for Share, and they come up and say, "I want this." I thought, "Wow, this must be okay. This must be good." There's a draw. Usually expressed that honestly, there's a need. You want to explore, but this is why I think sometimes the work that you do in the smaller groups with women together. You know, we used to call it dinner parties. 40 years ago, when I was a young gay guy in town, we'd have a dinner party and you'd talk about these things with soulful people. Or you go to Palm Springs and spend a long time weekend with people, and you talk about these things. But I think it's extremely valuable to talk, and I think what you're doing, I think is just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's going to be, I hope, more of this, and it goes
Well,
well.
I think like two of the things that I want to do with this is, one, I've gone to so many panel discussions over the years, and I just felt like nobody was talking about anything real or deep,
Yeah.
or about the hard parts,
Yeah.
or being
what's
honest.
relatable. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean,
Well, I don't want to hear
obviously-
Kelly Worthly talk one more time, or Martin Lawrence Bullard, and I love them all. They're good clients, they're
Yeah.
good friends, but there's something else I want.
We know what they're doing. We get what they're doing. We're inspired by what they're
Yes,
doing.
exactly.
Sales pitch.
But we're here, one, to connect with each other and with new people or people that we even know, but on a much deeper, more intimate level.
It's pleasurable.
And that's what this is about. It's the connection and what we can take from this and learn from each other or be inspired by each other. You know, there's so much more to it. And this is the new dinner party.
Well, it is.
Well,
No,
you know
it
what?
is, yeah.
You said something earlier about doubt, and that's the other thing that I want everyone here to know that I have doubted myself for everything I've done. I had no idea how to do anything I've done. Everything I do now, I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I have no idea. I make it up as I go along.
But I think that that's part of the process, right?
Right,
Is
but
like-
nobody talks about that.
But you
accepting it
saying
and
that
owning
makes
it.
me more
Yes.
comfortable
Well,
owning
that's
that
the reason,
too. Yeah.
because
We're all
nobody
in the
admits
same,
it.
We're all in the
Yeah.
same place. We're all
Yes.
like, "Fuck, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? I don't know. Like, am I crazy? But okay, we're just gonna jump in with both feet and we're gonna do it." Everyone experiences that in whatever industry or place that they are in their life. But like Jenna said, nobody's actually talking about it. That's the difference.
And the reason I want to talk about it is I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert that talks about this in her book Big Magic, the difference between men and women, and that women get in their way. Women get in their own way.
Really?
Yes, they get in their own way, and they expect themselves to be 1,000% prepared, perfect, and
That's why they're mothers.
yeah, and also, but like if they look at a job description online, like, I'm looking for a job, if they don't have everything
single
on that
thing.
list,
Yeah.
they do not apply.
Yep.
A man has 40% of the things that they're looking
And he
for, and
bullshits.
applies and probably gets
And
a
we'll
job.
apply and ask for 60% more than what they're offering.
Yeah.
And also get it.
So
Get it.
one of the reasons
Huh.
again,
Therein is the opportunity. Power.
I have a question, Rocky.
Uh-oh.
So it's obvious that you adhere to the classics. And
Yes.
throughout the classics, there's been a theme of rebellion. Van Gogh, for example. Has that played a part in your career, being rebellious?
Of course. Jesus.
Obviously.
Leading the witness, Your Honor. I grew up in a small town, Catholic town, 400 people in South Dakota. I was a rebel. My
Right.
mother used to say, "Oh my God, you're going to be so happy when you leave here." And I was the anti-war. Yes, I'm a
It
I'm
fueled your
really ashamed.
creativity to be
Yeah.
rebellious.
Oh no. As I've gotten a little older, to me, when I went to college, I was the greening of America. We shut down the campus during the Vietnam War, chased the people out of the armory and the generals and all that kind of jazz. I did all that jazz. We were going to make the world a better place.
Right.
And then you get invested in it, but I'm still a bit of a radical, and I'm still a bit of a. I like that. I like being a little edgy and unpredictable. And it's the better part of me. I mean, I like hanging around with people that are in their 20s and 30s that are really, really nihilists. I really like pushing
Yeah.
the envelope and questioning thought
Mhm.
and questioning why we do things. Why do we do it this way? Well, we've always done it this way. Well, screw you. We're not going to do it this way. So, but I think in terms of study and artistry, understanding the classics is valuable. Okay, I find that understanding the classics is satisfying to me, but it also gives me the ability to break it apart in ways that are more meaningful. I encourage the young people. Was it, were you trying to drive, or were you trying to drive on something a little deeper?
I'm trying to make you be
good.
rebellious.
Uh-huh. Would you say I'm
Light a
rebellious
fire.
at the office?
At the office,
Uh-huh.
I'd say you definitely walk to your own beat, which I think everyone admires in you. But I wouldn't say rebellious like in a negative sense.
Well, I've learned to be
You
collaborative to
are-
get
you-
done. I want to be successful. I want to make a difference, and I've learned how to work within this in the system,
I
within
think
the
in
structure.
a way rebellious in a way where like you will disrupt a regular flow, stop things and say stop, like break it apart. What are you doing?
Because I'm so
Let's
intelligent.
be open about it.
I'm so intelligent. I'm so intelligent.
You'll see it
I'm
in
so
meetings.
intelligent.
We'll all be sitting in meetings, and Rocky will bring something up, and you can see like a few people are kind of like, "Oh God, this meeting is going to go forever," because he wants to like everyone to think with an open mind, and he'll talk about it in that sense where.
Do you know how rare that is?
But I do think that that's a part of Needler's success too.
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
always,
totally.
at least once in a meeting when Rocky's there, we do stop and kind of think, and sometimes it's.
It's kind of fun for me to be at my age, and as the president of the company calls me, the pater familias. I get to be the uncle, the dad, that sort of stuff. But I respect the young people, and I respect their ways of doing things and wanting to do this. But again, that's a part of my crafting of my life, which is what you asked me. This is what I'm trying to do. I want, for whatever time I have left on this holy earth, that I craft my life in ways that are fascinating to me, meaningful to me, and that I feel like that I have purpose, that I give back, and that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm pretty close, Professor Maslow, the ascending hierarchy, ascending needs, being self-actualized. I'm just about at that pinnacle of being self-actualized. But a part of that then is being able to do, as my grandmother said, Rocky, you're going to love getting old because you can do anything you want. It's okay because you're old. And I'm playing that card a lot now.
Yes, I was going to just say, does anyone have any more
I
questions?
wanted to know, because you mentioned how you've always struggled with doubting yourself, and I hope that everyone has the same struggle here. Sometimes I feel like I'm literally crippled by it, and I wonder, what are your go-to methods to overcome that?
This is good. Tell us all your secrets.
Yeah, wow. It's really, that's a really good question. I have a few things that I do when I'll call it feeling stuck, really. One, I'm really, as I think I might have mentioned earlier, I'm really led by vision. Normally what happens to me is I get a picture in my head of what needs to happen, and that really, keeping that picture clear in my head really helps, because I typically really believe in that vision. It came to me for a reason. I didn't create it, it came to me. So just knowing what's one step I can take today, even if it's half a step towards making that vision happen, what is that? I read books that inspire me. So I have a book right now that's sitting on my bedside table It's by Tim Ferriss, and it's a tribe of mentors. And
Tribe
it's of mentors.
Of mentors.
Yeah, and he
Wow.
interviewed, I want to say, 100 or more thought leaders in different industries. But I read one section, I have the chills right now, and it really just gets me out of my pity party, that I'm having, and really makes me want to get up and take 10 steps forward. So things like that I'll do, or I'll listen to a podcast that inspires me. I have a few on my list, one of them being, again, Tim Ferriss.
Do you,
I
do
listen
you
to
ever
On
do
Being.
anything like physical, like if you're
Walks.
feeling like stuff, like
Walks.
go on walks or hikes or
Yep.
get in
Runs.
nature,
Move.
runs, whatever. I know
Yeah.
not everybody's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to
Yeah.
work out, but
Yeah.
like just getting outside and
Moving,
in nature
definitely.
and moving your body to kind of whatever is stuck to help physically get it out in a way.
Yeah. Moving, I started doing yoga. I do
Yeah.
meditate every day, which calms like when I start to feel anxious.
How long do you meditate typically? What's the range?
Anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
But I'll usually do, and sometimes I do it more than once a day, depending. But it gives me that space I was talking about
Have you seen this new
earlier.
meditation place over
Yeah.
on La Cienega?
Yeah.
On that, it's fascinating. All of a sudden I go, duh. If there's enough business for people to have square footage, a couple thousand square feet, with people offering meditating space or whatever they call it.
I don't know what the one on La Cienega is, but I mean, I've also been meditating more and more. I mean, Jen and I have known each other for several years now, and one of the things that I really got into doing more was meditating. And I'm now on my second or third 5-minute journal, I think, because of Jenna. It was like one of the first books that she gifted me, which is a game changer. And when I don't do it, like I notice a big difference in my life. But there's an app called One Giant Mind that's a free app. And it's interesting, I just decided to do it even though I've been meditating, just to kind of see what happens. And they walk you through like a 12-day period before you get into like a 30-day period. And it sort of talks about how, I think most people think that there's this way that you're supposed to meditate and what's supposed to happen. And it's like, no, every session is different, and how your brain might be doing all sorts of different things, or you might be uncomfortable, your body goes number, all of it. And it walks you through it that it's actually all okay and it's part of the process. And it's like, oh, like I don't need to judge every single one of
Right.
these. Like
Right.
just let whatever comes come and let it go, and you're fine. But those are two things that I've taken from Jenna since we've known each other, and they're game changers.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah.
One giant mind.
One Giant Mind. Yeah, it's free, and it's free, so
Good
it's
to know.
always nice.
I wanted to say one more thing, tell you. Our next conversation is going to be all about confidence. So we have a conversation with a woman called Toni Purdy, and she wrote a book called My Hype Book. And this book is basically a place for you to celebrate your successes. So one of the things I realize that I don't do enough is sort of look back at my accomplishments
Oh my
and even
God.
look at them as accomplishments.
Are you
So-
Catholic?
Yeah. So this woman made a book that is all about celebrating yourself, and we're
Okay.
going to talk about that in October.
Wait, in October.
Yes.
Is
Jews have the
is that
same
the next
guilt.
one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Jews have the same guilt.
Yeah.
People in general, and maybe women in
Closely
general.
related, huh?
Yeah. Anyone else? Have
Amanda.
Any questions?
I'm just gonna add to what you said, Jenna. Tony's also going to be
Yes.
hosting our next
Co-hosting,
group
yeah.
co-hosting our next group strategy session,
Yeah.
which is a smaller, like 8-person.
Yeah, see, that's what I think you meant,
Yeah,
like, yeah.
just just a group of women just talking about things that they want to move forward on, something maybe they're stuck on, something that they
Well,
want
it's
to-
interesting. One of the gals in the office today, so I told her about this thing. She said, "Well, I don't need to go to this stuff." She said, "I feel like I'm already an evolved woman," that sort of stuff. I said, "Well, then that's why you should belong, because you can share what you've learned with other women." And I said, "Let me tell you something. When you've achieved something, Tina, and she's really evolved as a mother,
Yeah.
as a human being, as a Vietnamese refugee, and all this sort of thing. You see all this, that, other things that she's learned as a human and as a woman in her life, and all the intricacies. And I don't know her that well, but I just have this sense about her. I said, my God, you should be a part of this group to be inspiring to other people. Because if you have something, you want to share it.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, sharing, this is what this lady is in such a pleasurable place. Look at her, she's glowing. You see an aura. There's a vibration that she has here because she is finding herself and she's sharing it with people. There's no higher form, I think, of living, being in life, whatever this thing life is, whatever life is, whatever this is to be alive. When you find it, that you share it.
Yeah.
And it's a pleasure to be with you tonight,
Thank
right
you.
here,
God,
and to share all of that.
Makes us-
I mean, I cannot thank you enough for taking this time to be with us and for being so open and authentic and honest. Because so few people really are, I think, as honest as you were tonight with us. And
Thank you.
I know that it creates an environment where people feel safe and they feel like they can share. And they also, I think, feel seen in a way. So I just want to say.
And I want you to know that the pleasure tonight has been mine with each of you and all of you. I feel your energy. I feel your vibrations. I feel your love. I feel you. I mean, I think this is it. So I just want you to say, I want you to know how very, very grateful I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give a huge round of applause.